CBC, Mr. Wani, if you could take your seat. Charles, if you could have Mr. Wani. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. John David Wani, if you don't mind, could you give us a roll call?
Okay, at this time, Mark Wimavoya, Chairman. Dr. Cornell Pee Wee Wardy, Vice Chairman.
Here.
Hazel Tassequah, Committee Woman Number 1.
Here.
Ross Carrara, Committee Number 2.
Here.
Alice Casnavoyd, Committee Woman Number 3.
Here.
Robert Comachit Jr., Committee Number 4. You have a quorum, Vice Chairman.
All right. Before we get started, I'd like to announce a little bit of I would like to address the Comanche Nation with a few points. First, I'd like to acknowledge that the land that we stand, we live, and we work, we are fortunate to recognize the traditional homelands of the Comanche, the Kiowa, and Apache, all of which we survive as resilient indigenous people. Second, on Thursday evening this week, Chairman Wimavoya texted the CBC and Jennifer Pacheco, the CBC Executive Secretary, that he tested positive for strep throat. Moreover, Chairman's text read, quote, "I suggest we reschedule the CBC meeting for February the 11th. John David Wani, Alice Casnavoyd, Robert Cohencheat, in their text message agreed with the chairman to reschedule to February this 11th. While Ross, Carrara, Hazel, Tassequah, and myself disagreed, saying we should stay on schedule with the meeting today, which is February the 4th, 2023. In a subsequent text by Chairman Wimavoya, he confirms that the vice chair will preside over the CBC meeting today, Saturday. So here we are, as the CBC conducting the business of the nation. And so I do wish the chairman a fast recovery from a very contagious illness. Third, the third item concerns the voices of the Comanche people. Coming out of the darkness of COVID-19, many of our people isolated themselves from this disease. These past few years, many of you tried to stay in touch with the business of the nation through live stream video. Finally, many of you waiting out in the secondary means to conduct business work to where we are today. We're slowly trickling back into our meetings, and we want to actively participate in the rebuilding of our nation, and I applaud that. I applaud your commitment to bring back the Comanche voices to these CBC meetings. And to show my commitment to hearing Comanche voices at the CBC meeting, I'm going to allow you as a Comanche citizen and concerned individuals an opportunity to be heard if you add your name to a list of individuals who would like to speak to the Comanche people during this meeting, particularly at the new and unfinished business section. Jennifer, could we get some assistance if anybody in the audience would like to sign up for any of the new or old business? Because of the time element, I'm asking that each speaker, if you're called upon, to take no longer than 5 minutes to speak on the floor. And finally, the fourth and final point I'd like to make is that Robert's Rules of Orders is not invoked in conducting the business of the Comanche Nation. I say that because I'm not a fan of Robert's Rules of Order because it's so colonial in context and does not come close to how our traditional chiefs made decisions for the Comanche Nation. So as they move towards creating a sacred leadership, This colonial format is still all we have at this juncture to conduct our business. So, where I may have a flaw, I hope that you'll be able to pardon me and colleagues and co-workers to help me as we move into this day. We're delighted that so many Comanche citizens, family, and friends can join us on live stream to participate in helping us rebuild the Comanche Nation. Without your voice and input, we are not contributing to our nationhood. So I say thank you, Ura, so much for tuning in to our CBC meeting today. Rita Kusabun, Tainun Sutaika. Tainu Sutaika.
Am I okay here? Am I okay standing here? Okay. He's asked me in Comanche, Tainun Sutai. And I'm happy that he's trying to learn more of the language himself. And those of us elders, and we do have a lot of us that could speak it, but don't because we're always afraid to be intimidated. And, you know, that's not good for our younger people. No matter how you say it, you know. We have a beautiful language, and we should all try to use some of it. You don't have to know it all, but know what you can. Learn what you can. Even just to say hello, I love you, and asutai, nasutai, love me, you know, little things. And we all need to think about that, because we have our young kids in that little college, that little charter school learning, and they're doing such a good job over there. And I'm so proud of those ones that are working on that situation, because this is my special time that I always want to talk. I just want to talk to y'all in Comanche. I wish y'all could all understand this beautiful language of ours. And I get so lonesome to have someone to and it's hard sometimes. So those of us that do understand, we know what we're wishing we could have more people to understand it. But we don't want to lose it. We're not going to lose it. I'm one of those that worked with that college, with that dictionary, with all those little, we've got a lot of things that we can do to preserve our language. And we need to learn it. We need to use those tools that have been placed out there. So those of you elders, use it at home. Say I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Simple things, you know. But right now, I just wanted to share that with y'all, because every chance I get, I want to emphasize let's preserve it, let's take care of it. This language of ours is special. It's very special. So I guess I should be praying for us, but I just had to say something about our language. I love y'all. We have a lot of precious things that are important that sometimes we overlook because we get too busy trying to live out in this world. But the little bitty things are important. It's our number 9. When love, our elders always say, you're supposed to love one another. When you go to bed at night, don't say anything bad about anybody or don't feel bad about anybody. Go to bed with a good feeling and good thought, because tomorrow morning you're going to wake up feeling better. That's what the elders always say. Namaruku, they would say that. So I'm just going to leave that with y'all and pray for us to have a good meeting and everybody have good feelings for one another. I know we don't all have to love each other or like each other, but we are people, and we do have, by the grace of God, we're here, and He wants us to care. So with that thought, those of you up there that are supposed to be looking out for us, you're very important to us. What you think and what you say up there reflects on us over here. You're taking care of us over here. we look forward to you guys up there to be looking out for our welfare in every way, our health and our finances, everything, and we appreciate you. You just have to appreciate us too, just like we want to appreciate you. Okay? Rahapka natsukat. Saako sikramita waikaku. Eka namoiti. Tässä sisämänä manana natsukani tukwavikata. Surisa sutayapka. Sisämänä manana piava manana kura. Surisas ijai. Eksapana ojoku. Udanana manamaiku vuetisutai. Tässä sik nama paraivona. Eka saako nimi munekat. Utsahynaraka nama munak tekikat. Nami sutai sunikapkar. Ojoku suniku. Saako nami munekat. Eka nama nanamani. Ayudan esukana uri majurapi kivutsikar. So ojoku suniko ojoku nami sutai kapkar. Siisas nansuakai. Sunini munika. Saakuraka nimi saamia. Era nansuakai kapkar. Baptisa sanariava era.
Rita Kusubun asked me to echo some of the elements of our language and even in English. She's been approached by many tribal citizens, just a real brief sentence, and it comes out of our preamble for the Constitution. Because she'd been asked, so she'd echoed that to me. Invoking the guidance of Almighty God, we, members of the Comanche Nation, with faith in the purpose of the Supreme Being, with abiding pride in our ancient racial heritage, and with the determination to promote, through unified efforts, the general well-being of our tribe, and to secure ourselves and our descendants the right, the power, the privileges provided by law, do solemnly ordain and establish this organization and adopt the following, and then it goes on to the article. So I just wanted to share that out. And I appreciate that because we have a lot of students online, and they're studying our Constitution and our government, and I think this sets a lot for those that we inherit our governance from those decision makers that were way before us. So, CBC, let's move into the agenda. We have the minutes of the meeting of January 2023. Are there any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes?
I would like to make a motion to strike Resolution 18, 2023 from the agenda today.
I'll second.
There's a, let me get my notes. 20. Number 18, 2023? Okay, there's a motion on the floor to strike Resolution 18, 2023, which is the CBC resolution on the Educational Summit, a special committee. It has also been seconded by John David Wani, Secretary Treasurer. Do we have a discussion? Anybody would like to?
Why do you want to strike it?
Because it was not turned in by the deadline. It was turned in on Monday, and the deadline for resolutions was 2 weeks ago.
We asked what this was about. Can you give us a little context?
A little bit about the context of this, this resolution, because it does come with a little history. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I know that I spoke with our tribal TA, tribal administrator, Julia, and said we had a conversation with Christian Bowes, Director of Education. And one of the ideas that came out of that, there would be a consolidated effort to those concerned about the education of our people, which is cradleboard to grave, come together as a collective, not just with this body, but many other people that are our allies, And that idea was stymied because of COVID-19. So it hasn't been addressed for maybe a couple of years until a few months ago. And talking to Christian, and then we even addressed it in one of our CBC, and I know we talked to Christian, Justin Bowles at last month's meeting with him as a liaison to the Comanche College. So the idea was to bring a collective of individuals together that are key players that would like to spend one day and coming together to sketch out where we are at the current status of affairs for Indian education, for the Comanche Nation, and look at how all our entities can come together for making a strategic plan for cradle board to grave. And that way, we can do that, bringing together all these people that are key players, which is our educators, our professors, our CBC, or anybody that was concerned about, just sketching out. And the only way it can do that without crossing boundaries is to put forth a resolution. So I did contact Forrest about that, our legal counsel, and he said probably the safest thing is a resolution. And so therefore I said, well, is it possible that you could construct that, a resolution, given that we had already discussed it? And he said he would. And I think he handed it over to his colleague, Amy, who was more on the education discourse. And she got that back to me. And as soon as I looked at it, I submitted it. So it was just that kind of timing. So I just wanted to explain, if there was a delay, it was because of that. But I just want to explain to everybody in the CBC, I had no idea that it was not, on time. But I just want to share, I think it's still advocable that we can do something like that and have this discussion.
Well, we've been talking, go ahead.
The concept sounds plausible, doable, agreeable. The timing, possibly right now is the time not to look at just the tribe, but if you're going to do something like this and you're going to set up a committee, do you have the staff and the planning department? Because this type of activity can be funded by outside grants, and you have until March or April to apply for those grants, and you'll have somewhere between 12 to 24 months to complete the project. Mm-hmm. So I don't see a problem with doing this. The concern is the tribe's already approved a budget, so where's the funding going to come from if you're looking just for the tribe to do it? And then secondly, if you're going to include other native entities and or non-natives involved, then I think you need to get a grant. You need to apply for funding to do this, and it can be done. We've had little ones where I was at, and so the funding takes time, so I would not put this on the agenda just to approve it today until you can identify some funding outside the tribal funds to do this, and the staffing and the planning department to come together on it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. I appreciate your insight about that. I think it's real important that we look at the time frame, because we discussed the idea that it would be months in planning. So Mr. Bowles said that probably the only financial cost would be a meal. Everybody else would be volunteering to come in, using Zoom and technology, things like that. But yeah, you're correct. I think that this will allow us time, because we're looking at more like fall 2023, which is months away for something in this kind of planning stage. So I just thought I'd share that idea with you. And so that's how it came to me, and I just echoed that. And because I have a keen interest in education, I think it's a beautiful idea that we put serious players together and elders that would really sketch out a plan for the future of our children, which includes not only our charter school, but all those in colleges and technical institutes. So that's what I wanted to explain. Is anybody else there?
I don't have a problem with this. It sounds like to me it's just going to be on a voluntary basis. And what's one day? If you're concerned about a meal, there's, can do potluck or whatever, but I just don't see a problem with it.
Well, the issue is that we have a deadline about putting things forward for the month's meeting. Before, it was a week before, and this was just turned in. So the CBC has already had that set, and then you're going to go and try to add something at the last minute. So we're either going to abide by the policy or we're not.
We don't have a
We don't have a
policy,
policy.
by the way.
Yes, that's true. Let me
But
just
the
say-
deadline
There's a
was
deadline.
announced.
Everybody knows there's a deadline to submit things for the agenda.
So we're going to stop what we want to do on our education based on a deadline. Let me tell you what, I've been back here since 2015, and the education system has not gotten any better, not at any level. Not, we've got the Comanche Academy, sure, but my children don't get treated any differently, and they've been here for 7, 8 years now. I go to Cameron, and let me tell you what, our advisor just dropped us. Why? Because she thought that we only wanted RQs and those kinds of things put through our. We've got about $1,500 in our account over at NASA, at Cameron, that we're trying to use and rebuild. But you know what? Our advisor dropped us. Why? Because there's no visibility there about us on the campus. Why is that? Because we don't have people to back us. Why is that? Because we're worried about a deadline. We need to get this moving because, the younger people are waiting for us. We've gotten new membership, and I can't keep telling our new members that it's going to happen when it doesn't happen. We need to push it through for everybody's education, not just the little guys. We need to do it for every level of education. We need to support them. We need to honor them. We need to validate them. So come on, let's do this.
So do we
I like what
have-
Mr. Burgess had to say. I mean, everything he had to say is right, with what we're trying to do. But the deadline was right, and there was no discussion about this resolution, and some of us has just now seen it. And, maybe some of the wordings that we don't like in there, we could discuss it, and maybe, like Mr. Burgess said, it could come forward next month.
I'd like to add to, maybe respond to Ms. Romero. While you have policies in place, this whole nation has to abide by policies, be it yours internal or the staff. Because these policies mirror what you're going to do for grants and funding. So, Mr. Romero, what I heard was a larger context than just the school, just the program that you're at, if you were over there. Is that right, Cornell? You're talking about several tribes, various leaders, and that takes time to plan. It takes time to bring in those speakers who can come and speak and or even do a survey. So there's more to what I hear, what I've heard is larger than what she's speaking about one day and come together. So you need to define, and again, look at the resolution and redefine it and follow the policy. Because if we have to follow a 2-week policy, so should you all, because it's your policy.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to, say something about this because in the past, we have had number of resolutions that we never talked about that was presented. So, it's a double standard. And it's based off of who's presenting it. So let's not go there, okay?
The reason that I second this particular motion, as the secretary-treasurer of this tribe, I met with the tribal administrator, and I was trying to determine how we would pay for this symposium if we did go forward with it. And I do support the concept of a symposium. I think it's beneficial to our nation. But when I talked with the TA and we looked at the budget for the education department, we don't have the money this year to do that. We've already got this money programmed to take care of our children, take care of the young ones, take care of those going to college, and I asked the tribal administrator, would this cause a hardship if we were to pull the money out of the education department to pay for the symposium? So, tribal administrator, I'd like for you to respond to that.
I mentioned that because he's scheduling it for the fall and we're discussing FY24, that it could go under the FY24 budget so we can budget for that type of educational summit. But if it was done previously to that, then we would have some hardships on the budget because the budget's already set for FY23.
Thank you very much. for discussion.
Well, first off, we don't even know what the budget is, so just from a structural standpoint, and we don't know what sessions, breakout sessions will be held. I think there needs to be more. We need to have a context of what this is actually going to cost, because hardship sounds bad, but if we're talking about $1,000 versus $30,000, that's a significant difference. But we need to know that firsthand if we're going to be prudent with our funds.
I think it depends on the type of educational summit. I understand that they think that it's just going to be a cost of a meal, but it could be more than that. But we won't know until the planning starts. So, but if we budget it for FY24, at least we have the funds set aside for that educational summit.
Okay, thank you for the discussion. We do have a motion by Alice Castlewood and a second by John David Wanee. Let's go ahead and move to a vote. CBC, all those in favor of this, actually, we're voting to take it off of the agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye or A.
Aye.
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 All in, opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman,
Majority
you don't get a
carries.
vote today.
Excuse me?
You do not get a vote today.
Well, it passes. So we'll strike resolution 18, 2023.
Just put it on next month's agenda and try to get a budget for it and the, content of the educational summit.
That would be something to bring up on Friday when we do the last day of budget hearings.
All right.
That way
Okay,
we can discuss it.
Let's move into the minutes of meeting January 20, 2023.
After that, I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda for today.
Oh, okay.
Second.
On the floor is a motion to approve the agenda by Alice Castlewood and second by John David Wanee. Any discussion? Let's go to a vote. All in favor, say aye or A.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it passes, so the agenda is set. Thank you. Let's move into the minutes of meeting January 2023. CBC, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes? Do you need a little bit more time, or are we ready to move on to any corrections or from that minutes, or does it stand approved as distributed? Take us a little bit more time to look at the minutes. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I make the motion to approve.
Motion approved by Alice Castlewood. Can I second?
Second.
Second by Ross Carrara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Minutes are approved. So the next item is Executive General Counsel Officer report. Our tribal chairman, does anybody have a report for Chairman Womavoya? Because I don't have any report for him. But I do have my report, if I could go just real quick. It's real brief, actually. I've attended all the CBC meetings for the month of January, the ones that I'm required to. They're all mostly the quorum meetings. Two, I've attended a talk by Jordan Mackey, a Comanche Nation citizen, on the topic of Comanche Nation Blood Quantum, and that was a presentation open to the public at the Lawton Public Schools. No, at Lawton Public Library, excuse me, Lawton Public Library. 3, I participated in 3 days of budget hearings, and 1 day left is to complete, but we rescheduled that. But I want to applaud our administrator, all the CBC, for coming to that, because we're trying to do the business of the nation and get things done. And then last, I met with the Indigenous Peoples Planning Group to plan out activities for the rest of the this academic year. So that's basically real short, succinct, that what I would like to report from the Vice Chair. Secretary Treasurer, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chairman. As the Secretary Treasurer of our nation, I have to carry out the duties and the responsibilities under the Comanche Nation Constitution, Article 12, Duties of the Officers. Section 3, Secretary Treasurer shall keep records including financial supported by Finley and Cook CPA firm and the tribal administrator and the administrators of the entities. Have ensured that the records are being maintained, minutes are being maintained of all of the tribal council meetings and the legal quorum business meetings of the committee. And this is being done by Dodson Court Recording Company. We want to thank you. Response for sending all notices of legal meetings. Ensure that tribal employees keep copies of all such documentations and requests for meetings, and ensure that such notices are mailed and published. Section 4, ensure that copies of all minutes of the tribal council and legal quorum business committee meetings and resolutions are sent to the Anadarko agency. Secretary Treasurer oversight, monitoring tribal government entities compliance meeting is on annual audits. I've been spending a lot of time going through all the audits. We've had some difficulty with some of our entities not submitting their audits on an annual basis. So we brought them back in line, and now we've got all of those old audits up to date. So we're going through those very carefully, checking them to see if there are any financial issues of any kind. Also, I'm working with Finley and Cook and the tribal administrator on government accounts. We probably run, what, Julia, about an average about 130 accounts, expenditures a day. And so it's very time consuming. Thank goodness for phones, because now I can do it on my phone, which makes it a lot quicker. And also, the Tax Commission report, I'll be giving that just a little bit later. The American Rescue Plan, general assistance is 35.3%. Food assistance is 44.26%. School assistance, 54%. Home repairs is 33%. Retail assistance is 8.7%. A total of 81.73% has been expended on our Comanche people. So what does that mean? That means that we've expended $84,415,283.61. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary Treasurer. That is a Executive General Counsel Officer's report. The next item is committee board reports from the CBC. The first bullet would be Indian Health Board, CBC number 3. Alice Casper.
Okay. For the IHS Health Board, we meet on the first Thursday of every month on Zoom. Renovations are ongoing for the pharmacy, and the next project is the emergency room. If any of our tribal citizens have any complaints about the hospital, they are to be turned in to the patient advocate at the hospital.
Thank you very much. Cow-calf program, CBC number 4. Robert, do you have a report?
Yeah, I just got a brief, short report. There was no meeting, no board meeting this past month. And all I have to report is that we had 1 bull calf and we had 25 wean calves moved to winter wheat. And looking forward to our next board meeting, so I have a better report for y'all next month.
Yes, Mark, you have the floor.
We have 38.
Thank you very much.
And they're in the process of purchasing some more at this time.
Tax Commission, Secretary Treasurer Don Dave Dubois.
Thank you. This report is on the Tax Commission. For the month ending December 31, 22, the Comanche Nation Tax Commission had a total net position of $3,323,549. This amount is comprised of $3,628,499 in total assets, of which $3,360,181 is cash. For the same period, the Comanche Nation Tax Commission generated net income of $404,185. Of the amount, the Tax Commission generated $444,304 in revenue. Highlights to review during the past month would be for the quarter ending December 31, 22, $90,074 was generated by the Oil and Gas Department. This is roughly $70,000 more than has been generated in previous quarters. This is due to increased collection efforts by the Oil and Gas Department. $46,914 was generated through issuing a renewing of tags. For the month of February, the enforcement agent will be proposing rule changes to the current Comanche Nation seal application procedures. This will lead to additional income generation for the use of Comanche Nation seal. Attorney opinions have been issued for the Oil and Gas Department operations. With the opinions, the department will be able to continue to increase collection efforts. Future collection efforts includes ensuring the collection of current and past due taxes owed by operators within our jurisdiction. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Mr. Burgess.
I'm curious to see if y'all have moved forward or thought about moving forward for online sales of Comanche products that have a Comanche seal, not owned by the Comanche Nation. In the past, we had, if you go online and look at Comanche items or things, you'll see mugs, cloths, something being sold. I had inquired, now I'm talking 10, 12 years ago, inquired of some of these websites. Were they a company owned by Comanche or by the Comanche Nation? And generally, they didn't respond when that question went forward. So there is a lot of sales, I think particularly in the state of Texas, that are taking place with our seal on those items, and then no revenue coming back to the nation. And now that maybe Ross knows this, is there a national law on sales online going into effect for items? Everybody that's looking at eBay, Etsy, all those online sales items, there are some things being sold with the Comanche seal on it that it's an item not owned by a Comanche member. I'm just questioning that there's a possibility of new revenue there if you look into this matter. Thank you.
Tribal Attorney, would you respond to that, please?
Yeah, there's trademark laws that would allow us to stop or get money for that. And I believe that that's part of what the Tax Commission's working on with amending their procedures for going after people using the seal.
Thank you. Thank you. Leslie, for the record, it's Mike Burgess. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that report. Next report, Kiowa, Comanche, and Apache Intertribal Land Use Committee. Chairman is absent, but does anybody have a report?
He did send the report to me.
Okay.
For KCA, We are currently interviewing for a KCA executive director. We are working with our legal counsel to redefine our land leases. And we are also working together with the city of Lawton for possible economic development projects.
Okay.
What are some of those potential economic development projects?
Well, that goes along with working on getting the land also to see which, they're going to be working with, just with Lawton, just other different projects.
What do you mean, what land?
The KCA lands that are in Lawton.
Is there any specific land you're talking about?
Across from Indian Hospital, I think the KCA is working with the city of Lawton to build a sports park there. That's what they're looking at right now. But it's a lot of area. It's 155 acres, and they're trying to decide which was the best part to put it in the middle, the ends, or where else, because they got future plans for maybe something that's a truck plaza or something they want there, because it's right off the interstate.
The city wants to put a truck plaza?
No, a sports park. But the KCA is working on their part.
A sports park?
The maybe a truck plaza. They're just talking about it. It's in the making now, so.
Okay, so like a sports complex?
Yes,
Yes.
for the city of Lawton. That's what they're working on with them.
Okay. Well, I know why they want to do that on our land, because it doesn't generate any taxes for the city. So they'd rather use our land instead of theirs. That would be a terrible decision for us. Any revenue generated from it, how are we going to realize that? We won't.
Excuse me, Chair recognizes Tanisha.
It's actually a concept that was brought up previously by a tribal member that worked previously in that position. He brought that about probably 2018 at a committee meeting there, and that was his concept, was to develop a sports complex for the youth, specifically for the youth, and it was supposed to be specifically for Native youth. All KCA tribal members in their youth would have, it would be they would have first priority, and the concept was to be rented out, ran by the KCA, rented out to the local Lawton area, because as it is right now, Lawton public schools, they pay an extensive amount of money to hold their football games at Cameron University. There's just not enough space. I think this is a great idea, personally.
Okay. Leslie, that's Tanisha Cable. If I call upon you in the audience, please state your name, and that way we can have for the record. Mr. Burgess.
The idea of the youth complex, sports complex, that in 2002 was the beginning for the water park. And the whole idea was to add more youth-type activities with the indoor skating rink, roller rink, maybe indoor Olympic pool, a lighted 9-hole golf course for training and for youth activities, and even to put in a horse area for riding, bringing our kids and youth back into activities. So that whole area where the water park is, the idea was to develop and add on to that, not leave it as the water park. And sadly enough, every time we had a change in this body here, plans were dropped or not built up. And that's why in the past I've said, maybe we need to take this strategic plan to tribal council and rubber stamp it so succeeding CBC members are not going to drop the ball on long-term development and youth programming. The same concept can be passed along on that old golf course in Cache, where Cache has a large number of our Comanche children and others. And the city of Cache reaps many, many rewards financially from those businesses that give tax base to the city of Cache. And I'm not going to bring up the controversy over a football team in the past. We read about that. But the city of Cache does not necessarily acknowledge or want to acknowledge the strong Comanche presence there. And in fact, the one time that I was able to bring it forward to put a clinic in Cache for all of our folks, particularly the elders who don't drive or can't get a driver, to have a clinic in Cache run and owned by the Comanche Nation. So when you're talking about strategic planning, we need that department here at the tribe. And we need those mindsets that look to the future, not just for the 3-year term that you sit here today. So a planning program and a planning department with 3 to 4 people is stronger than the 1 grant writer or 2 grant writers that you're utilizing at this time. But,
Okay, Mr. Mark,
I appreciate Mr. Burgess's comment about, the lack of continuity of policies with the CBC. And one of the reasons why we're not economically far along is because we lack an independent economic development commission. Now, I understand we're getting ready, the next topic is that. But we need an independent group of people. They could be Thibaults, they could be somebody else, but we need people who can develop projects long-term and that they are from outside of government, particularly tribal government. Most of our people going into business, they're not very good business people. And so another thing is that the purpose of, when we go to economic development, what is the purpose of economic development? It's to make money, not to maybe babysitting group for a big table for free food for everybody every week. It's to make money. The byproduct after that, it would provide for those things. But if you're going to just make a grandiose utopian type of programs, you're never going to make money, therefore you will fail.
Mark, for the record, could you state your name for our reporter?
My Chinese name is Hey You. My name is Mark Wadua.
Mark Wadua. All right, the next report, Comanche Nation Housing Authority, CBC number 3. Alice, do you have a report?
Yes. I'll go ahead and give the report. The CBC is all on the housing board, though. The auditors are on site to conduct the annual audit review. The elder outreach assistants have made over 1,100 contacts as of January 2023. That's with our tribal elders, just to let them know that what all we're doing and what services are available through the Housing Authority. Housing is awaiting funding from the BIA to begin a new program for our out-of-area tribal members to where they can get assistance. It's going to be a one-time assistance. So please be on the lookout for that announcement. As soon as we receive the funds, we will have that assistance ready for our out-of-area tribal members.
Okay, thank you. Enterprise, we have Alice Castavoy and Robert Comachi Jr.
We
Either
didn't
one of
have a
you-
meeting for the month of January.
Oh, no, okay.
It was rescheduled due to the weather.
Oh, okay, no meeting at that. All right. We'll move into the resolutions and we'll fly really quickly. I'll be honest,
Mr. Vice Chairman, before we go into the resolutions, I like the recommendation that was made by our former chairman, Mike Burgess, and I definitely am going to make a motion that we establish a committee for the development and planning for this nation. And we want to bring in some key people. Let's get some things moving. I've been seeing too many private people having too many private agendas up here on the CBC, and we need to start moving forward. We've got to be progressive, because if we don't, our people are in dire need. We've got to get things moving, help our people. So, Mike, I want you to know that I will be making that motion, that we establish such a committee. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
thank you very much. We have a lot of resolutions to go through, and my eyes are not that good. And I don't know if I have it in me to read all of those, so I'm going to count on our CBC to help me out here. The first cluster of those, I believe, may come from enrollment. So would anybody on the CBC please take charge and read our first resolution? number 07-2023, enrollment eligibility resolution list 1271. 1271.
I can go ahead and read. Okay. List number 1271, starting at the second whereas, the list includes the names of applicants who have been verified as eligible pursuant to Article 3, Section 1C of membership of the Constitution of the Comanche Nation, which states, all descendants of allottees eligible for membership under the provision of Section 1A of the article having 1/8 or more degree of Comanche Indian blood. And now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept the verification of eligibility for the applicants as shown on list number 1271 by the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office. And be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the eligible applicant by letter of their approved membership, and further that the enrolled member be provided information concerning their enrollment, including name, date of birth, roll number, social security number, and degree of Indian blood. Those being added, Gabriela Rocha, Coda Butler, Jaden Cruz, Cole Cruz, Confidential, Chimera Jernigan, Eliana Jones, Amelia Klung, Ian Gonzalez, Hasley Negron, Aiden Tabitotsavat, McKenna Tihai, Henry Thiessen, Caden Webster, Kyler Williams, and Austin Wooten.
Do I hear a motion from the CBC on this resolution?
I make the motion to approve.
Alice, motion to approve, second by Hazel Tasaqua. Any discussion? If not, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of this resolution, say aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same motion. The vote carries. The motion passes. That was resolution list number 1271. We'll go to the next resolution, which is, I believe, list number 1272. Alice, if you don't mind.
Sure. List number 1272, starting at the second whereas, the list includes the names of applicants who have been verified as eligible pursuant to Article 3, Section 1C membership of the Constitution of the Comanche Nation, which states, all descendants of allottees eligible for membership under the provision of Section 1A of the article having 1/8 degree or more of Comanche Indian blood. And whereas the list of applicants are considered adults but have never been enrolled in another tribe, and the documentary evidence is on file with the Enrollment Office. And now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept the verification of eligibility for the applicants as shown on list number 1272 by the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office. And be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the eligible applicant by letter of their approved membership, and further that the enrolled member be provided information concerning their enrollment, including name, date of birth, roll number, social security number, and degree of Indian or Comanche blood. Those being added, Serenity DeRozier, Summer Bunch, and Krista Guerrero.
Okay, any discussion? Let's move to a vote.
I make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Alice to, do I have a second?
Second.
Robert Comanche Jr., second. All in favor of this resolution 1272, aye or yes?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to the next resolution. I believe it's list number 1273. Again, Alice?
Okay. Starting at the second whereas, the documentary evidence on file with the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office and information furnished by each applicant named on list number 1273 do not descend from a Comanche allottee as provided by Article 3, Section 1B of the Comanche Constitution. And now therefore be it resolved that each applicant named on the attached list number 1273 is determined to be ineligible for membership with the Comanche Nation because they do not meet the nation's constitutional membership requirements. And be it further resolved that each applicant on list number 1273 be officially notified of their rejection from membership, stating the reason for such determination and including the appropriate appeals provision. And I make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion, list number 1273.
Second.
Did we need to list those, did we already call those names?
No, because they are not.
Okay, okay. So we have on the floor a motion by Alice Casnovoid, second by Hazel Tasaqua. All in favor of this resolution, say aye or A.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No opposed. Motion passes. We'll move to the next resolution. That would be list number 1274. Again, as you don't mind.
Starting at the second whereas, the documentary evidence on file with the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office verified that each applicant named on the list number 1274 are considered ineligible pursuant to Article 3, Section 4 of the Constitution of the Comanche Nation, which states, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 3 of this article, any person who meets the eligibility criteria in Section 1 of this article, who as a minor accepted a material or monetary benefit as a member of another tribe, or whose legal guardians accepted a material or monetary benefit as a member of another Indian tribe, while the person was a minor, Comanche Nation shall have the option of relinquishing their membership in the other tribe and becoming a member of the Comanche Nation no later than 1 year after they become an adult as defined by the Comanche Constitution. And whereas the list presented contains applicants who have applied for membership with the Comanche Nation before or after the 1 year period as defined by the Constitution of the Comanche Nation and are found ineligible for enrollment due to applying outside the parameters of Article 3, Section 4, and now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept the verification of ineligibility for the applicants as shown on list number 1274 by the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office. Be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the ineligible applicant by letter of their denied membership, and further that the application be provided information concerning their enrollment application. And I make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion on the floor by Alice Casnovoid to approve this resolution, list number 1274. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Robert Kovaci Jr. All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes. List number 1274, it passes. The next item, a resolution, is list number 1275. 1275. Alice, if you don't mind.
Starting at the second whereas, the documentary evidence on file with the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office and information furnished by each applicant named on list number 1275 does not possess the required 1/8 degree Comanche blood as provided by Article 3, Section 1C of the Comanche Constitution. And now therefore be it resolved that each applicant named on the attached list number 1275 is determined to be ineligible for membership with the Comanche Nation of Oklahoma because they do not meet the provisions of Article 3, Section 3C of the Comanche Nation Constitution. And be it further resolved that each applicant on list number 1275 be officially notified of their rejection for membership, stating the reason for such determination and including the appropriate appeals provision. And I make the motion to approve.
A motion on the floor by Alice Casnovoid. Do I hear a second motion?
Second.
Second by Secretary Treasurer John David Wani. All in favor of number 1275, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No opposition. The resolution passes. Number 1275. The next resolution is list number 1276. 1276, Alice?
Okay. Whereas the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office has been presented documentary evidence to verify the biological father of member number 16211, the documentary evidence finds that the DNA testing proves paternity, and member number 16211 should be linked to member number 12974, therefore increasing the total Comanche blood from 3/16 to 1/4, and therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee accept the documentary evidence on record for member number 16211 to correct the blood quantum from 3/16 to 1/4 Comanche tribal blood, and be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office notify the member by letter of the corrected blood quantum, and further that the enrolled member be provided information concerning their enrollment, including name, date of birth, roll number, social security number, and updated degree of Comanche blood.
Okay, motion for list number 1276.
I make the motion to approve.
Alice Castavoid motions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Robert Comachit Jr. All in favor, say aye.
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 All those in,
I have a question, it's not about this resolution, but you referred to blood quality, stated that an individual held a meeting, and the discussion was blood quantum. Can you give an overview or give us an idea what this meeting was about?
Mr. Burgess, could we hold that because we're right in the middle? I could get to that as soon as.
Was it in new business then?
No.
My
Let me-
question can be in new
yeah,
business.
yeah,
But I
but,
think all of us need to hear what was going on.
yeah.
Thank you.
Let us finish because we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. So from that, all in favor of list number 1276, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed. The resolution passes, number 1276. Thank you very much. We'll get to that. Thank you very much, Ms. Bridges. The next resolution is list number 1277. Again, Alice?
Okay. Starting at the third whereas, the Comanche Constitution, Article 3, Membership, Section 1B, which states the membership of the Comanche Nation shall consist of the following: all living direct descendants of allottees eligible for membership under the provisions of Section 1A of this article, born on or before the date of adoption of this Constitution, and whereas the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office Rules and Regulations, Section 6, subsection 9, loss of membership, states that the Comanche Business Committee shall have the authority to disenroll any member who is found not to be eligible for tribal membership pursuant to the tribe's constitutional membership requirements after they have initially approved, having been initially approved for membership. And whereas the Comanche Business Committee has been presented documentary evidence from the Enrollment Office showing the adult tribal member failed to comply with Resolution 80-17, and therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee approves. Is that supposed to be a resolution number? Okay. This resolution. Oh, this one, okay, 13-2023, list number 1277, to remove the adult tribal member, and be it further resolved that the Comanche Nation Enrollment Office will notify the tribal member by letter of their removal from the Comanche Nation membership roll. The Comanche Nation Enrollment Office will also notify City National Bank that any current and/or previous per capita funds be transferred to the Comanche Nation's unallocated accounts. and I make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion on the floor by Alice Castavoy to approve this resolution. Is there a second to this motion? Is there a second to list number 1277?
Second.
Second by Ross Carrara. All in favor, say aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alice, thank you for those, reading those resolutions. Could I get anybody to volunteer to read the next resolution, number 14, 2023, realty resolution to replace roof for realty and entertainment office?
I can do that.
Okay, all right.
Resolution number 14-2023, authorizing payment over $50,000 to replace the roof at 302 Northwest Rogers Lane, Lawton, Oklahoma 73507. Third, whereas the Realty Department requests to utilize funds from the land acquisition budget to pay for a new roof on a building owned by the Comanche Nation located at 302 Northwest Rogers Lane, Lawton, Oklahoma, and whereas the cost for the proposed improvements exceed the $50,000 spending limit threshold per the property and procurement guidelines, which require an authorized resolution. And now therefore be it further resolved, the CBC hereby authorize the Realty Department to pay Oklahoma Tribal Roofing, AKA JHS Construction and Management, with funds from the land acquisition budget, code number 355, in an amount of $72,000 to replace the roof at 302 Northwest Rogers Lane.
All right, discussion? Mark Wadua.
Be replaced. Do we have a metal roof or is this a chat roof?
Is,
She advised it was a chat roof.
They didn't take a look at maybe a metal roof?
The roof is flat on that building on Rogers Lane, so I'm not really sure, but Stephen Lee is the one that received the quotes for that.
What's the guarantee on that? 10 years, 20 years? Repeat this process again.
Unfortunately, he is not here to discuss that, and it's not on the quote.
Leslie, for the record, that's Mark Wadua. Thank you. Do I have a motion on the floor for the CBC?
Mr. Wadua, I do know it's been 15 years since the roof's been repaired or replaced.
Do I hear a motion on
I
this
make the
resolution?
motion to approve.
And I'll second it.
All right, the motion by Alice Castavoy. The second was by Robert Kobuchi Jr. All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? No opposition. This resolution passes. The next resolution is number 15, 2023, Tribal Court Resolution Contract for Judicial Service, Vincent Knight. Would, Robert, would you, oh, okay, that's right, I'm sorry. Would one of, Ross, I guess I'm called upon you again.
Oh, yeah, I
Mind?
can do it.
It'd be the Vincent Knight resolution.
Resolution number 15-2023, resolution to reaffirm the contract for judicial services between the Comanche Nation and Vincent Knight. Fourth, whereas the Comanche Nation desires to reaffirm the contract between the Comanche Nation and Vincent Knight to provide judicial services by acting as the Associate District Judge for the Comanche Nation Tribal Court, and whereas The proposed term of the contract for judicial services shall be for 4 years, starting on February 1, 2023 through February 1, 2027. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee does hereby approve and authorize a resolution between the Comanche Nation and Vincent Knight, and be it further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee acting for and on behalf of the Comanche Nation does hereby authorize this resolution for such intent.
All right. Discussion? All right, we have, I need a motion on this resolution, 15, 2023.
I make the motion to approve.
Motion on the floor by Alice
Second.
Asnavoid, second by Ross Carrara. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? The resolution passes. That'll be 15.
I can do 16 too.
Okay. Let's go with the next resolution, which is reaffirming, this will be Ralph Simon.
Resolution number 16-2023, resolution to reaffirm the contract for judicial services between the Comanche Nation and Ralph Simon Jr. Fourth whereas, the Comanche Nation desires to reaffirm the contract between the Comanche Nation and Ralph Simon Jr. to provide judicial services by acting as the Associate District Judge of the Comanche Nation Tribal Court, and whereas the proposed term for the contract for judicial services shall be for 2 years, starting on February 1, 2023 through February 1, 2025. And now therefore be it resolved that the Comanche Business Committee does hereby approve and authorize the resolution between the Comanche Nation and Ralph Simon Jr. And be it further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee acting for and on behalf of the Comanche Nation does hereby authorize this resolution for such intent. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ross Carrara. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second by John David Wani, Secretary Treasurer. All in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No opposition. Resolution passes. And we'll go to our final resolution, if you don't mind again, Russ.
18 was voted to be stricken. I don't know if that matters.
Okay. Resolution number 17-2023, resolution of the Comanche Business Committee authorizing American Rescue Plan funding for audio-visual equipment upgrade to the funeral home. Fourth, whereas the interior renovation of the funeral home at 2701 Southwest J Avenue, Lawton, Oklahoma, 73505. These interior renovation will adhere to CN Resolution number 113-17. This upgrade will enhance both audio and visual presentations at the funeral home, and whereas the Comanche Business Committee authorizes and approves Comanche Nation American Rescue Plan funding under current approved CN tribal government property and procurement policies and procedures by resolution number 022-16. And be it further resolved that the Comanche Business Committee hereby approves the Comanche Nation American Rescue Plan funding for the Comanche Nation Funeral Home AV audio equipment upgrades, and authorizes the bid approval submitted to the Information Technology Department for Coast Technology Group in the amount of $50,073.33. That consists of a 1-year contractor's warranty.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion on the floor to,
Make a motion.
motion by Secretary Treasurer John David Wani,
Second.
seconded by Hazel Tasaqua. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? No opposition. This resolution passes. We've already, for the record, Leslie, we've had a vote of no for the resolution 18, 2023. That was the final one on the agenda. So that concludes our resolutions. And before I go into the new and old business, I think that Mr. Naito. I think you have some guests, and I think they've been waiting, and I know they come from a long way. So real quickly, if you don't mind, to introduce them, and then they can be on their way.
Thank you. For the people that don't know me, my name is Ron Naito. I'm the Chief of Police for the Comanche Nation Police Department. And I want to bring before y'all and the CBC and our tribal members out there looking on stream. His name is Kevin McCullough. And Kevin, would you please step up here? He wants to present to our law enforcement department, because we just recently went through a very strenuous audit on our department in reference to our policies that are in place, our regulations that are in place, and to make it through all that rigorous work, I guess you may say. Also in the loop on making it possible is Bill Hill, who is in the back of there. Would you please step up here, Bill? He is currently our accreditation and training person, very organized and very educated in that part. I also want Matt Miles to step up here, who also was very instrumental in getting our policies in order. I think this is our, how many years has, Kevin, you know? I think it's our 4th year? Yes. Our 4th year in being accredited through the state. Now, that's pretty good. The Comanche Nation Police Department is the only tribal law enforcement agency that currently holds that status out of all the law enforcement in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm very proud of that. And without any more, taking up any more, Kevin, would you step over here and speak to the people and give them a brief overview as to the rigorous standards that our department has to go through in order to be accredited.
Sure. Thank you, Chief. First of all, I'm not a citizen of the Comanche Nation, so I consider it an honor to speak before the council and people of the nation. This is as the chief said, this is a rigorous process. And I will say that in the state of Oklahoma, there are only 18 law enforcement agencies that have gone through this process and that have achieved this status. And again, Comanche Nation being the only tribal police department to hold really this prestigious status. So I serve with the Oklahoma Association of Chiefs of Police as the chair of the Oklahoma Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. This program is endorsed by CLEAT, the Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training, the Oklahoma City Management Association, the Oklahoma Municipal League, and the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group. So these groups have come together, developed standards. These standards address high liability, officer safety, and community policing standards. And there was a group of law enforcement professionals that came to your facility, to the police department, and conducted an assessment of not just the written policies and procedures, but also the actual operation of your police department. And your chair, who's ill today, but he did come by and we did brief him on the process, and he saw what your officers were going through. And it's just, again, an honor to be able to present the credentials to your police department. So we're here this morning to recognize the Comanche Nation, the Comanche Nation Police Department, Police Chief Ronald Naito, Accreditation Manager William Hill, for their commitment to transparency, to accountability before the people of your nation. And so it's because of their dedication and their hard work that I'm honored to present certificates of leadership to the police chief, but also to William Hill, and then the reaccreditation credentials to the entire police department of the Comanche Nation. So I know we've got brothers in the back there. If you all would also come up here, because this is for not just the police department, but for the entire nation. You all are very selective, and the people that you choose to police you, so you should. I'm very proud of this group. You should be proud of this group too. And so at this time, I'd like to present the credentials to your police department. And my official photographer came with me today. This is my wife, Kathy. So. All right, we're going to stand up. Get your mug shot. Yeah. Matt, would you come up and accept on behalf of the entire police department? So this is credentials. So we'll start with the chief here. So let's do it this way. That I appreciated the precious message of love this morning that you started our meeting out with, so thank you very much. All right, well, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman? Mr. Vice Chairman? If I don't mind saying so, along the same lines, yesterday, Mr. Louis Papachico of the Lawton Police Department retired after 26-plus years with the Lawton Police Department. He started out with Comanche Nation Police Department at one time, graduated, and then I commend him for longevity it was one position. So we might pass a resolution sometime later on, but I'd like to say, Louis Papachico.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Wadua, and thank you very much, Mr. Naito, to recognize our advocacy and our accreditation for the police department. That's very courageous, and it gives us assurance that we're in good care. So I'd like to say thank you very much. Let's continue with new and unfinished business. Do we have a list here that I've asked that to come on, or would anybody? This is a good opportunity if you would like to have the floor.
I would like to.
Vice Chairman, we had a request that clarification on the blood quantum be made. Councilman, can you cover that for us, please? Blood quantum issue?
Let me, if you want to approach that now, let me phrase my question so we can get it right.
Excuse me. Before you do that, Alice, did you have something related to this?
Well, I just wanted to make a motion. It was for, before I forget, it was for the CBC to travel to Washington DC for a consultation.
Okay. All right.
That was it.
Okay. You want to do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On the floor, we have a motion by Alice Castavoid for the CBC to travel where to now?
Washington DC,
Washington DC for
tribal consultation.
tribal consultation. And I'm sure that will be coordinated with our administration.
I'll second that.
And we'll
Mr.
get the
Chairman, I have one more.
And we have a second by Hazel Toscawa for that motion. All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I have one more motion for the chairman to travel to Tribal Leaders Consultation Work Group in Washington, D.C. For our tribal chairman to travel to Washington.
What was the purpose of this?
Tribal Leaders Consultation.
Consultation? When would that be?
In February this month.
Okay, we have a motion.
Is
for
it
the-
limited only to chairmans?
I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that one. He's just not present, so I'm just making it for him because he's not
Okay,
present.
how about let's table it for executive session to figure out, who
That's
qualifies
fine.
to go to that.
So can we, Mr. Komachi, can we rescind that and then maybe table that to executive session? Okay, so moved. All right, let's move back into the section on new and old or unfinished business. Mr. Burgess, you had an inquiry earlier about the blood quantum, and the workshop was presented by one of our Comanche Nation citizens at the public library.
Correct. In your report, you said that you attended. Some of us were busy with other items and things. So I wondered, what was the consensus out of that meeting? Since you attended, could you update us? And then the question here is, was there any concept of blood quantum consolidation?
Thank you very much. I think when our tribal citizens, and particularly those that are in school, and I think Jordan is in school, a graduate student, they conduct their research, and this is a part of that. And her inquiry was looking at the Comanche citizens of the future. And so her inquiry was trying to look at different combinations of criteria that are around the country to investigate and explore should there be a change in that. So in her presentation, and I'm sure you could make a request for her PowerPoint, because she's already shared that out. I could give you that contact information just in case you need that. But her inquiry was open to the public and mostly Comanche citizens. I see a few that were here in this audience that attended as well. It was more exploratory and looking at what concepts are happening. And so therefore, it was presentation about blood quantum. What does that mean historically and what happens in this day and age? Looking at options, blood quantum criteria from other nations across the country, which is tribal nations, and what they do in their design of their new citizens. Many, for an example, some maintain the blood quantum, but they will add a composition of other bloods. So it really was an exploratory and just discussion. There was, of course, strong opinions for this way or that way, but there was nothing fully decided. But so it was more exploratory.
So was this a grad student doing research?
Yes.
She's a grad student doing research on blood quantum of other Indian nations around the United States.
As
or
well
Canada.
as the Comanche Nation.
Well, that's what I know that. Okay, so that's, my question was, that presentation, while it was not presented the way you explained, or if that's the way you saw it, what I did see was a discussion on blood quantum change. So I was not aware that it was going to be a educational research format and all that. So since it required Comanche citizens, and they talked a little bit about the Comanches, my thought here is that it should be shared with us in our newsletter. And that address should be made public. I don't know if we can put it up here on live stream, because that affects many of us. If one individual wants to get out there and make a rule change and present it at tribal council without awareness by the people, without approval of the majority of the people, it should be brought to all of us. It's similar to a small group working on anything, within the Constitution and only for that group edification, not the majority. And since we go by majority vote now and try to get a general consensus out of our votes, that's highly important to me. And I think it's important to other people who may not be here, or if they are, they need to express themselves. Because looking at other tribal groups that go by descendancy, they do not necessarily enforce cultural education. They do not enforce community livelihood. By that I mean living within the community, being raised here. We are now finding, if you look at your enrollment list, the majority of names are out of state probably, as they were about starting in 2008, right after we changed blood quantum just to get per cap done. And that's not a healthy issue. So as you talked about planning for education, you talked about planning for the future, we need to plan on how we are going to shape the future for our great-grandchildren. I am particularly concerned that I too have grandchildren that are marrying outside the tribe or marrying outside Indian nations. Because the essence of my teaching from the elders I had was, if you can't marry a Comanche, marry another Indian, so that we have more Indians. And I'm not denigrating anybody who's not full-blood Indian, who has only partial Indian blood. I'm just saying for our future, we need to protect what those elders who gave their lives for us to be here today. And I don't just mean warriors. There were a lot of women and children who were killed needlessly and unmercifully. We all know that history. But we have to protect what those people's lives cost us. Language, cultural knowledge of Mother Earth, living with the elements, and going forward strong as a people. And that's why we try to elect people here who are going to lead us in a good manner and with cultural knowledge and forbearance, always. Because as our elder here said today, that it's good to hear our language, sa namerakwa. Wherever we go, mahini meako. Wherever we go, we should have something of our culture with us. I'm one of those people, lived among other Indian nations, among the Hispanic community, the non-Indian community. We are an oddity. But when we stand up for ourselves, they understand where we come from. We come from this land here. And that's what I would like to see our youth to know. That these mountains out here, they're just not Wichita mountains. They have name places by our people, by the Wichitas, by the Kiowas. We have a lot of name places out there. Many of our chiefs are buried out there. It's for nobody to know but that chief, his family, and Father above. He looks at us real good. Wants to know our hearts. I'm speaking up, and some of you are going to look and laugh. I'm half Taiwo. I know nothing about my father's people other than the other brothers or sisters I've had. And now there's only 6 of us left out of 14. And they did not get to be raised around this culture that I'm trying to be a part of. So I speak to y'all from my heart today. Let's really reconsider lowering blood quantum. We ought to look at consolidating. Anybody that's got 1/4 Indian blood or wants to be on Comanche Road, doesn't have enough, but they got more Indian blood, let's bring them in, and forevermore they have to be Comanche. Forevermore they have to be involved in our community, our dances, our songs. I've gone a lot of places, and people chide me about our folks. Y'all don't have culture. Y'all don't do things like you should. Y'all don't do. How would they know? Because we don't have enough elders showing us what these dances, what these songs are, what the names of our things are. And that's what we need. That's culture. It gives you a sense of pride. It brings us up knowing who we are, how we can be, and who we're related to here today. So that's why I'm saying these things. Maybe there's some elders listening or some other people who don't have those words that I have. But from my heart, I tell you these things. We should not consider lowering blood quantum. We should look at consolidation. The only reason the blood quantum was lowered because people squandered that money coming in from the casinos. And they were being selfish with it. And so it happened on the floor. There was no planning. It happened on the floor. So now we got 1/8 all over the world. I remember seeing some of those rolls come in. People in other countries, people other states. We need to have them to learn to be Comanche. If they want to be Comanche, they need to spend time here at home with relatives and be among them so we can all recognize them as Comanche. That's what other tribes do. So other nations have a concept of how to make them a part of the community, not to just put them on paper. And all of a sudden, they want a health card, they want education money, they want a housing assistance, but it doesn't come back to the community. We're trying to look at how the community can grow, and we can all be number one. But,
Thank you very much. Mr. Burgess, I think that you had a good point, particularly with our elder here, as we begin to look at how we create or reinvent or just try to affirm who we are as a sacred people. And I think that is our charge as we look at nationhood. Who are our citizens? How do we define it? Well, it's up to us. It is up to this body, the General Council, to determine what is the enrollment criteria. But I do favor us looking more centered towards that sacredness, because I believe we are a sacred people, and we have to define what that is. That's what sovereignty is to me. Sacred sovereignty moves into identity construction. So, microphone.
Mike just hit on what I've had on my mind for quite some time. I'm up in this age now, and I'm just visiting, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just here visiting you. And what little time I have left here, I want to make sure that I'm sharing whatever it is that the APA gave me to share. But my one thought, and it's been bothering me for a while, and I'm glad, Mike, you brought it up, because it's very important to our children, not just the ones that are here now and going on. It's the future of our tribe as a whole. If we don't go to some kind of descendancy or whatever he says, consolidation of our tribe, we're going to be here no more. That 1/8 situation, it just goes so far. Within even my own family right now, I have children that are not going to even be on the roll because, like the 4th generation down from me now, in my own family. So these things are very important for us to realize. Those of you that are in charge, those of you that are wanting to be a part of, need to start thinking seriously about some kind of descendancy role, so that we won't be a lost tribe. Because Comanche, those of us elders, I'm full blood. How many of us are left? My daughter, her daughter's a 4th, her grandchildren are 8th, and from then on what? This is what it's been on my mind for a while. And Mike, thank you for bringing it up. We need to do something about it as a whole. If we're concerned about our tribe, that's the main thing that's important, is descendancy of some kind, however y'all want to handle it. That's very important. I'm glad I was here today to bring that up, because it has bothered me for a while. But,
Okay.
y'all take care of it.
Tanisha, you have the floor.
Can I speak, please? Okay. Hello, my name is Shandell Weasel, and right now I'm the acting enrollment director. I just wanted to speak on this situation because this tribal member did come to my office, and she was pretty upset because her child is not eligible because of his blood quantum. And she wanted to, it's like she wanted to make changes, and I told her, I can't do nothing about it. I have to follow the Constitution. The only way to do that is to go before our council and have them vote on it. So that's where all this came from, was because her child is not eligible. It's to benefit her family, not a study because she's a student. So I just wanted to make that known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, she's been in the community, she's been speaking about this for over a year now.
And that's
Tanisha,
exactly-
You have the floor.
That's exactly what she's been, and she has been making these posts public on Facebook. She's been asking and asking all various opinions, and she did have that meeting, and I too wanted to attend, but I, like everyone else, had obligations and was not able to, as I want to hear what she had to say. I did ask her on Facebook, what is your intention?
you know, have you done the study? All the questions you just raised, I asked, she didn't have an answer. But I do encourage all tribal members that if this is a very big concern, and can it be done? Absolutely. If we all look at our Constitution, that secretarial changes, Mike done that last year. It only takes a handful of people to make this change to our Constitution. And if you're genuinely concerned about blood quantum, I encourage all tribal members to get involved in this issue and let her know or speak out against it.
Marty, you have the floor.
Marawika, Nananyatsa, Marty with Tackle-Bitty. I'm sorry, I'm falling all over the place. That is what brought up the issue, but like she said, it's not just an issue for just her kid. That is an issue for all of us. And she has been making it public, but like you said, she brought up those questions because she needs our help. She needs all of us to be in this. She just took the initiative to move forward, to go through with it. All of us should be a part of that because like Ms. Kusum said, we're not gonna have a tribe if we don't do something about that. So I didn't want somebody to think that she did it just because of her family, because of her kid, because that is not why. I went to her presentation with you, and there was a few other people there. Mr. Red Oak was there. I don't know your name, but these ladies were there too. Yeah, see, there was people who can make it were there. And to see what she has and to move forward. And she put that out there for everybody to join. And she tried to make it available in whatever platform that she could make it available for people to join because she knows that there are people that are way out there that can't get in, and even people are here. I have 7 kids I keep up with. It's hard for me to take time out. Like, I'm about to miss my daughter's basketball game being here. But this stuff is important. And so, and she took that into consideration because of that. So it's not anybody out to benefit for their family. It's a whole bunch of people that want to do better for our tribe. So that is what has started it. And I needed to say that for the clarity because to me it seemed weird. So I just needed to make sure it was for everybody, our whole tribe, for all of us to work together to move forward. And those questions are questions that need to be asked so they have a solution so we could be that tribe that is thriving when it comes to our enrollment, all that good stuff. So
Mr. Mark Waldua.
Hey, you be fine. So far, we've heard answers and questions coming from the natural realm, but there's also a spiritual aspect of it. So, unfortunately, my sister, my elder, there's prophecies coming out nowadays. We're in end times, and the Lord says, I'm not going to destroy the earth. That means I'm not going to destroy the peoples of it. There's going to be the sound of many waters. Through Rita Graybear, she prophesied in the last 20 years, there's going to be a restoration of the drum, there's going to be a restoration of the language, there's going to be restoration of the paraphernalia, but not all of this, the Lord says, is from me. We picked up some strange fire. And the Lord says, I'm going to restore the tribal nations in these last days, both in the natural and in the spiritual realm. Now, some of you guys don't understand the spiritual realm very well, but you must. God, the Abba, not to be Jesus, is going to be talking to each and every one of you from this point forward. Now, if you just fret about, oh, we're going to die, Isha, that's wrong. Get that. It's not going to happen. I used to worry back in the 1960s and 70s when I went to go to OU, thinking that, oh, we got to do something about our blood quantum. But when I found Jesus, it became a issue not even relevant at all. God's going to take care of us. I don't care if you look like Utah like me or white skin like Mr. Tinky over there or whatever. The Lord's going to bring us back together. Those who know they are Nimina will rise up and speak the language and dance and give love to Ta'ap. But you're going to know who's Comanche, who's not Comanche. There may be some false Comanches among us, even on the registration rolls, even today. And so I think you need to consider looking at things from a spiritual angle rather than just a natural angle. Who wants to speak, Mike?
May I say this?
Let me say this.
May I say this? And I'm going to But he is the number one, right? We all know that. So, we're all spiritual anyway, whether we know it or not. You would not be breathing if you were not spiritual. If you didn't have that spirit in your body, you would not be breathing. That I will say because that's the way it is,
Amen.
like it or not. You
God
are spiritual.
speaks to his people, but who does he speak to first? His prophets. And some of you are prophetic, are starting to receive some of this stuff. Let me say, on April 5 through 7 in Dallas, Texas, there's a call for 500 Indian nations to come to Dallas to release a prophetic sound that's been hidden for 400 years. You say, what is that? Well, take for example, the Kiowas have a prophecy that the buffalo will come out of the Mount Scott. They went into the Mount Scott. The Sioux, Crazy Horse says, in 7 generations, the Sioux are going to help bring all the nations together in peace. Well, I believe the Comanches have prophets. The Lord says, I want you to bring together in Dallas. I'm going to invite the CBC to this. But nonetheless, there's going to be a release of prophetic that must be spoken again so miracles, signs, and wonders and peace will come back. Mike?
The concept here, the meeting they had, then, if it's that important as 2 individuals are telling us, then I think the tribe has to establish a meeting time, special council. Before it comes to tribal council and someone steps up with a resolution we can't understand soon enough, or it gets tabled. So the tribe needs to have a discussion format on this. And you need to have input from absentees. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, I may not be on the road, but I'm Comanche. That's well and fine. If you want to be Comanche, then come over here. As I was told before I left Oklahoma in 1980, come suffer with us so we know you're Comanche. That's what I was told. But I wanted something better for my life personally. So I spent about 20 years away from Oklahoma and lost out on many of my relations, knowledge, experience, history. I love to sit around in that teepee and hear family history. That ties us all together. I'd love to go to the churches and learn more of our hymns. Not because they make me feel sad, but they make me feel proud. I've gone to other funeral hearings. People want to, Mike, do you have a Comanche song? Do you have this song? No. That's not where I learned to sing. I learned over here. And so I'll sing a song from over there, our older songs. That shares. A lot of people know those songs. All over this country, our Native American church songs are being sung, east and west, north and south. Canada, down south, they're singing our songs in our language. I get on YouTube, I can hear all these Utaibos singing songs that have our language in it. Makes me feel proud. Maybe they have a different meaning, maybe they don't know. But they're singing these songs that the Appa gave our people have spread across this land, and they're in an environment of peace, tranquility, and worship. That's what some of my people don't know here. How tranquil it becomes when the morning time comes. How beautiful it is to hear these songs. Right here, this young lady carried water for her first time and made a statement there over in front of the Star House. How beautiful that was. I'm not going to forget it. So besides lowering to descendancy, one of the thoughts I've talked with other people, that those of us who received per cap in 1967, 68, if you were not full blood, be bounced up to full blood. And then your children come up behind you. Whoever is on the roll now, and then those children can come up. So that we're not losing out. I don't want us to appear, and I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want us to appear like our relations on east of I-35. And they have it going on because of cultural infusion with monetary assistance. Language, culture centers, schools. Yeah, they got 50 or 500,000 casino machines, but we have over here 50,000 American Indians in these nine counties that we could all be working together for our future generations. So just to give a thought out there, instead of lowering blood quantum, take it up for all those that got per cap back in the 60s. And then the children and grandchildren come up. So we don't have to lower anything. And then the qualifications. Live here, be here, One tribe I know says 5 years on the reservation. They want you there. Navajo's way over here, outside of Arizona. They don't even get assistance for education or anything because they're not on the reservation. There's so many on the reservation. So these kind of considerations, all our people need to hear, not just a few. We need to take it to the people. But
I just wanted to add to what he said when he talked about the base roll from, 1976? There's also other ways. I do think we should have a meeting. We could do total blood quantum. Apache tribe does the same thing. So you do have an actual Native American, like there's Native blood. And I think that if we do decide to lower, or we wouldn't even have to lower if we did total blood quantum. But I've worked in enrollment for 10, 11 years. I've been to several conferences where this is discussed. I don't have an opinion about it right now, but I just wanted it to be known. I did have a conversation with that individual, and she was upset because it was going to benefit her child if her child was on the roll. I'm not saying she's not advocating for all the descendancies. Even my child. My child is not Comanche. She's Navajo because of the blood quantum issue. So I just wanted to make that known. But I do think in the future we should have a meeting with our people. The committee maybe schedule a meeting and open it to our public. Go live stream where we could have tribal members, absentees all over, come in and ask questions, give their input. I do think that is a good idea. So I just wanted to clear the air on that situation. Thank you.
Mr. Riddle.
No, Maraweka.
Marawe.
I was at this meeting. I have opinion, like probably all of you, what we should do. But this young lady started the ball rolling, and CBC, it's an issue that needs to take place and resolve. And the only way to do it is to talk to everybody, get everybody's opinion, and come up with a plan. And you, as our governing body, would be the most logical choice. This young lady had special interests, but she also wanted to be known as a Comanche because her kids are not Comanche. And that she wanted to somehow keep them in that realm. Some say I'm full blood. I can say that because it says that in the enrollment office, but I'm not. I'm Utaibo. I'm Tosa Utaibo. And I'm probably more Utaibo than Num. So really, blood quantum is a lie that the government threw on us and we embraced it. So if you want, now I'm saying my opinion, I didn't want to do that. So my stance is, let's get something started and resolve this thing. Era, Suet.
I just wanted to say one more thing. One of the main reasons, not just spiritually, not just as a person, as an identity, why it's important, because don't we have to have those enrollment numbers to be able to function properly as a tribe, to be able to get all the stuff we do, to separate it, to be able to have like all the programs and all the stuff that we do to help our people? That's one of the, I feel like, if anything, not just who we are as a people, but to take care of our people. And like you said, this is just my opinion, but I feel like it's kind of facts too. To have that enrollment number will benefit us as a tribe better in our programs, not just our language program, not just the education world, but all of our programs. So that's super important too as well, because, I mean, we need that to go on. Super. Behind me. No? Oh.
I know that I've heard from my nieces and nephews, I have nieces and nephews that are on other roles, and they are refused by the Comanche tribe because they received money from something on those roles. So why can't we get them on our rolls? Why can't we do away with that? They could have received millions of dollars, so why is that an issue?
That shouldn't be an issue. The only issue is if you're enrolled in another tribe, the only time, per our constitution, the only time you can come over to Comanche Nation from another tribe is between your 18th and 19th birthday. Your application has to be turned into enrollment, stamped and dated before your 19th birthday. Even if they did receive benefits, it shouldn't matter.
Because these kids were like put on, well, my kids, my boys are all on the Delaware Road. I have one daughter. She is on the Comanche Road. I have my oldest son who is on the Comanche Road. The others, my husband wanted on the Delaware Road. They are Delaware. But we were never told that, or I never knew about the Constitution that they could be on the Comanche Road if they were 18 or 19. So, can these others, I mean, that's just my kids. These are my nephews. They're Montana. They're Blackfeet. There's a couple of them that would like to be on the Comanche Road. I have a nephew, my sister's boy. He's on the Kiowa Road. He was put on the Kiowa Road because his father was Kiowa. You know, that kind of thing. They are half Comanche. So why can they not be put? Can we not change that to where they can be put on? They didn't know about the 18, 19-year-old thing. Can they not do that? Can we not open that to where they can change?
There is a possibility, but these are one of the things that have to be discussed and brought to the council. So if we were to make changes, I think that there's going to have to be some real strategic planning on how we word those, I guess, constitutional provisions. I don't really know exactly what we'll call it, policy. It would definitely have to be discussed, really thought about. I mean, even as far as going to maybe other tribes to see how they do it. That would be my suggestion on that situation, would be to have a meeting, take it before the council and have it voted on to make the change to our constitution.
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but what you're talking about is constitutional convention. Thank you.
Do we have any other voices? Cindy Famero?
We change up a little bit about what we're talking about. I brought this up in the past, and I got nothing. So, given the Lisa Otopovi complaint from last year, I understand that certainly that certain individuals on the CBC were named in that lawsuit, but not the entire CBC. My question as a Comanche Nation citizen pertains to our Comanche Nation budget. If Mr. Tadnapper or Dorsey and Whitney law firm are being paid to represent these individuals named in the lawsuit, who is paying their legal counsel work and court costs? And I believe, John David, you were talking about the budgets and how that works out. So it's not about the court case. It's just about who's getting paid to do what.
Isn't that a conflict of interest? It is a conflict of interest because they are getting paid for representing when I just understand it's a conflict of interest for them to be getting paid for the tribe to represent them when Lisa Otopobi is suing them individually.
That's very true. And it wouldn't happen in the regular courts of law.
No.
So, there's no answer to that yet, Mr. Wani?
You know, when you think about this subject, I served as superintendent of the biggest Bureau-operated facility, Cherokee, North Carolina school system. We had about 3,400 students. And the reason that the Cherokees dropped their blood quantum down to 1/16 was so that they could generate a larger population number, so that they could generate more money coming in from the federal government. That was their motive. I know because I used to work closely with the chairman of that nation, and they were hurting financially, and that's why they did what they did. But what I'm hearing here from our people is totally different. I'm hearing the love and the compassion that we feel for one another, and it's about time we start speaking up that way. We got to start pulling together. We've got to work together. And the more we get our people involved, the better off we're going to be. Not just the business committee. I'm talking about, like Mike recommended and others of you recommended, let's put committees together. Let's start moving forward. We just keep spinning our wheels here. So let's do the right things for the right reason. But that was the reason why that blood quantum dropped in Cherokee, North Carolina. Now, we dropped it here at this nation also. But the reality is that when we did that, that does have an economic problem for the nation, because you're going to have to spend more money taking care of the increased enrollment numbers. Okay, so that's okay. That's all right. We made that decision. Let's move on. But let's really work hard on this.
John David, you didn't actually answer the question. My question was, who is getting paid? How is the council that you guys have been named at getting paid? Is it a line item? Is it on the budget? Are you guys supposed to be represented separately? That's my question.
Okay.
So I'm happy to answer that question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
So
Thanks first.
Dorsey and Whitney is representing each of the CBC members that were named in their personal capacity in the Otopobi lawsuit, being paid from the legal budget that was approved by the tribal council. The reason for that is because even though they were named in their personal capacity, it's indisputable that they were acting as the CBC at the time of the events. And it would be totally unfair to them if someone could just deprive them of legal counsel based on their official actions by just naming them as a person in a lawsuit. If one of them was arrested for a DWI, if one of them was sued for a slip and fall at their house or something that was really in their individual capacity, I would never dream of representing them for any reason. But because they were acting as in their official capacities, and it was just an attempt to manipulate the judicial system by Judge Otopobi by naming them in their personal capacities, I am totally fine with representing them. Don't believe it's a conflict of interest. And in the Iowa world, happens all of the time, because this is not a new type of manipulation that people try to do. In the context of like the boards of directors of corporations, people name the board members all the time, and there's indemnification clauses, and it's a big part of being in a management capacity of a company to make sure that you can get your lawyers paid for if someone sues you for what you do in the context, in the scope of your employment, in the scope of your service on the board. So because it was in the scope of what they are doing on the CBC, I felt entirely comfortable representing them.
Ms. Famero, history. 2005, I was a tribal administrator. The CBC walked in here in a private meeting without my input or without consultation, walked out, sent Chairman Coffey to tell me that I was terminated. According to most general and the federal guidelines, he who hires can fire. The CBC only has daily operations management as a group, not individuals, but as a group. On Saturdays, they can direct the TA what to do or how to do if needed. But they shouldn't walk in here Monday through Friday and tell other directors what their job is to do, or to bring somebody in and say, I want you to help this person, right? That was happening, and that still happened up until this time period. Now, I sued the CBC. I couldn't sue them individually because they took action as a group, a recognized legal body. I sued, I won my case in court. 2 Indians on the appeals court overturned it, say they didn't want to step in and overrule on tribal sovereignty. They broke our Constitution because they didn't have the right to fire me. So I win my case, I come back to court, everything's back in place. But I get ostracized because the body then said, Mr. Burgess, you cannot supervise 14 of these 18 programs. You're not to tell them what to do. You want to know how many programs were failing within 30 days, 60 days? 14. Because no one could give them daily management because they didn't have that authority to give daily management, work on budgets, get on supervision. So that's how we've had to suffer under CBCs who don't know their places and want to direct daily or to insert themselves into who's being rewarded, who's not being rewarded. Okay, come to 2011, no, 2016, there was a chairman sitting here who told me I couldn't run for office because I owed the tribe money. I asked for the lawsuit, I presented a lawsuit, they lied to the gentleman that was trying to deliver the paperwork. They would not accept the paperwork knowing they could delay it, pulling a Trump. But we finally got it in. And then when I do get it in, they still wanted to hide behind tribal sovereignty. When one individual lied to me, saying I owed money to the tribe, they couldn't prove it. They couldn't prove to me. I even put in a Freedom of Information Act, and they're supposed to follow that. They wouldn't follow their own rules and policies. Therefore, when I spoke up, follow the policies, because we have to. So I'm telling you, Ms. Romero, the responsibility to represent them in their official capacity will fall upon our legal team, because I had to get an attorney and fought against the legal team they had at that time and won my case. And it was an Indian judge, understood tribal sovereignty. The appeals court, one white lady wanted to prove it. Go forward. She approved of what I did because it was in our Constitution. But then you had 2 non-Indians, friends with the chairman, who overruled it and saying that I lost, but I was already reelected. So that's why we should elect our tribal administrator, not 1 year, 3 years, or 4. As long as they're doing a good job here and not playing favoritism, as sometimes we get CBC members come in trying to play favoritism. We don't need that. That's what hurts us. So I'm telling you, I agree with defending these people on that lawsuit. Even though that previous body did wrong, they did me wrong, did a lot of people wrong, lost my house over it. So I can stand here and defend these people because I know that that's the rules and regulations when you want to sue an official capacity, a person in official capacity on a body like this. So I'm responding to you as a tribal member, individual out here. That's the way it has to be.
Can I see the microphone? Okay, so my thought on that, I appreciate you, Mr. Burgess, and I too have gone away for a long time, and I know more songs in other languages than I do my own Comanche language. But were they actually acting on our behalf? Because you cannot, Judge was in 24 months of a 48-month contract. So were they actually acting on our behalf? Okay, that can be litigated. It's not for here to say, right? But I also just wanted to say that, you know, the strategic planning, we absolutely is a must. We've been saying that for so many years. Has not happened. Grassroots organizations, they actually overturned Columbus Day and Lawton, Oklahoma, Indigenous Peoples Day. We had no budget. Design team for the Comanche Academy also got the academy going without no budget until they first wrote the first grant. So I say to you that we can make those things happen without having to stymie and the process for years because people forget about it. And I think that you do put that resolution back in next month and we get it going because it's too late. It's long. You know, we need to go on.
All right, thank you. Did you have?
Yeah, I was just waiting.
Yeah, go ahead. The floor recognizes Tanisha Cable.
Burgess. Mine is in regards to the interim election board. I had contacted the election coordinator
and she had stated that there was an election ordinance that was to be approved today, and I seen it wasn't on the agenda. I was just wanting some clarity on that, and speaking with her, she had said that the interim election board had been contacted, and there were other individuals that they had to contact, I guess, were added. I just wanted to know what the status is as far as having a meeting for the interim election board, because no one has, we're kind of just, she's answering to some but not all. So I just wanted some clarification from the CBC on what direction, and that's just, I'm just asking the question according to what she had stated when I contacted her. They said there was an election ordinance that was supposed to be on the agenda. What's the status of that? Because from what I read in the Constitution, there is to be an election board established by you, appointed, which you done last month. But since then, there has been no contact. When I did try and contact the election coordinator, who was hired by the tribal administrator, I'm kind of confused on that, because from what I understand, the election board is to do that, not the tribal administrator. Am I wrong on that, or how? There's a lot of confusion. Yeah. Anybody?
I got an answer. Actually, it goes past that, ladies and CBC members. When 2 individuals or 3 individuals signed a memo dissolving the election board, it was illegal.
Right.
In 2005, tribal council approved election of election board members. And later on, when that would happen, when we tried to get a meeting in a community, the chairman at that time, or vice chair that was acting, didn't allow it, and was willing to throw people in jail if we came up here to have a tribal council. So all of that should be behind us. This body should approve, go back to that 2005 and 2010 modified election board policy, which tribal council put in place and approved. You should just go back to that and bring in a minimum 5 or a representative from each of the districts that were named, and let's move forward. You have what, 120 days, February, March, April, maybe 90 days, if you want to do that. If not, we're going to have a resolution at tribal council to reestablish that election ordinance. And it's out of your hands, however it's going to be done. But
Okay. Julie, you were going to say something?
Yes. The administrative assistant, not coordinator, of the election office was posted in December. The new election ordinance has not been voted in yet. They just voted in an interim board, which was requested by the CBC, from us by the CBC names, and she has contacted all of those people, but she also contacted some of the workers from last year, because you need 2 at each polling site. So she has all those. She was waiting for the election ordinance that the committee and the old board that was voted in November of 21 that they worked on, that they provided to the attorney, to be approved in order for her to go ahead and schedule the first meeting with the board, is what she told me. Well, then I was told that it wasn't going to come to vote, and so we're at a standstill right now.
So as of right now, we don't have a policy or an ordinance, because that policy that was in place was amended in March 2022, but we have since had a constitutional change that enacts and creates an election board. And that was voted on in July 2022 through secretary of election. So as of right now, today, we have no election policy and we have no election ordinance. So I did go over the rough draft. I've seen it. It really needs to be updated, and I don't know if you got to read it, but there's a lot of verbiage in there that reflects the 2010 election ordinance that Mr. Burgess is speaking of, and I did read that as well. whoever created the document was poorly written, and it needs to be really looked at. Have any of you individuals got a chance to look at it? Did you see that it did reflect the 2002 tribal constitution verbatim in 2010? That no longer applies. That part should be taken out. So, I mean, I just had it looked
Tanisha,
over.
the copy you threw a fit about getting was a draft.
Yes.
And it didn't show up on our agenda this month. That means that they will probably be working on it again. We haven't discussed it.
But the elections.
The last time that it was, the attorneys had it and they just sent it to us last week
But that's the same.
for
with
their
last
red
month.
lines. So,
That last month, we were on a deadline and needed to be done because it was already voted on in the secretarial election last year. So if we're following our constitution, we're again right around the corner. I mean, we're in February and none of this is getting done, and now we're gonna be in March, and is that gonna-
Unacceptable.
Well, it causes, you're gonna make decisions that are ultimately gonna affect your whole outcome of your election.
Based on the ordinance.
So I would suggest that the interim election board members get together and start working on that. And it sounds to me that if you can go with a 2010 and compare it to what was presented and kind of start working in those areas, start making those changes where needed to reflect the constitutional changes regarding our recall, regarding the election board, all those that have been included in the Constitution. So I would suggest that you guys get together immediately. That's you're the election board interim,
Okay,
and bring it forth before the business committee, have a meeting so that we can all understand exactly what you're trying to do, and let us have some input as well. That's what I would suggest.
Tribal administrator, I think for clarification purposes, initially, there was a committee that was assigned to begin to work on revising the existing election policy. Is that correct?
They created the election board policy that was going to amend the Constitution, and that was put into place with Resolution 148-2021 last year, or 2 years ago. And those ladies all worked on that policy together. And then once they finished it, they transferred it over to the attorney so they can work with them. I think they collaborated with the attorneys several times.
Okay, so tribal attorney, if we have an election policy that's already in place, it still is in place until we get this revision approved of. Is that correct?
So what we worked on has never been enacted by the CBC. So the policy from 2022 is still in place. So it needs to, the new one, the updated one that has the board needs to be enacted at some point by the CBC before the general council meeting in April.
And your office was involved in the changes.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, all right. Because we need to clarify, I think we had some issues on that one, but I just wanted it clarified for the record. Okay, then, correct me if I'm wrong, then there was, after this group worked on, and this was led by Susan Parker, White Wolf, and she's the one brought the resolution forward to our people. They approved of reestablishing the election board. They worked on it, okay? They sent it to the attorney, and then now we've turned it over to the CBC, right? But we've not had an opportunity to review it yet. Okay. That's where we're at right now. So CBC, we need to review that ASAP, Vice Chairman, and go over it.
I agree.
And, let's go over it, and then we can turn it over to the interim board and let them go.
For the record, I will need a stretching break in the next 10 minutes or so.
if there is nothing else, I make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All right, on the floor, we have a motion to go into executive session, second by Secretary Treasurer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.